Right, this video will be voiced over because prior to this recording I had updated my audio drivers and it seems to have changed a bunch of settings. The microphone will cut off at the lower tones of my voice or cut off entirely. You can only hear the beginning of my words and vice versa. Unfortunately, this will not be fixed until episode 6 of this A&A Club game, so I do appreciate your patience. If editing me sounds a bit off, it's because I'm ill, so I'll do my best not to sound disgusting. Alright, so we start from UK round 3. They had a purchase of infantry, fighter, bomber and a destroyer. Bomber, fighter, infantry to India, destroyer to Season 7. And this was a pretty interesting round from the UK. Took Egypt, Finland for free, took East Indies, losing an infantry, took Burma, losing an infantry. And basically just talking about how the UK seemed to have gone for a power play and tried to apply as much pressure to Season 61 as humanly possible to try and reduce the amount of fighters Japan sends to West Russia to stack with the German stack. Yeah, as you can see, Japan has responded and has taken both back East Indies and killed the sub that the UK placed in 48. So yeah, the UK would have had 2 subs, and I think that's 2 fighters and 3 bombers on 61, so that's pretty decent pressure by the UK. Very good harassment. Basically commenting on how unique this approach the UK has taken to harass Japan. I've not seen it before, it's very impressive, I must say. And with this setup, it actually locks down Japan in 61 and it limits their expansion into Australia, New Zealand, of course Hawaii, right? It protects Africa. Right, for Japan, a destroyer 7 infantry. Destroyer to Season 62 and then 7 infantry to Japan. Took a bunch of free territory to get the transport in Season 37, took East Indies back, losing an infantry, killed the sub in Season 48. Yeah, and then sent the 5 Japanese fighters to West Russia. Because without them, Russia would have had a 96th wipe West Russia. With the fighters, it was a 30-40% for Russia to take. Alright, the USA. 9 infantry, 1 transport, 2 artilleries. All into Eastern and C-Zone 11. Took Algeria, Ukraine for free, and then liberated Kazakh for the Russians to take for free. Basically commenting how efficient the Allied trades have been so far. I'm commenting on the amount of heavy US air presence in and near the Med, which I'm not really sure why. It's probably nothing, it's just basically saying they could kill the battleship whenever they want, but they don't have to because they're not doing anything. Except discouraging a med shark, of course. Alright, Russia. Artillery 5 infantry. Took Novo, losing an infantry. Took Karelia, losing an infantry. Russia offers a 50-50 on Moscow, but I'm basically saying I'm flattered, but I can't take it considering the situation the Axis are in. Basically saying I would need a top 9% result for the Germans here to make it impossible for Russia to take back, and then force the UK to expend its air force to weaken it down so that Russia could take it for free. I don't really want to lose the German tank corps, so I'm going to ignore it. Commenting on that, I can't really stack the Caucasus because there's too many allies, there's too many allied units in the vicinity. Basically commenting that I can't really move anyway without exposing the Japanese fighters. But I'm planning on leaving 4 infantry behind to offer the UK a 50-50 battle for the Japanese fighters if they want to take it. Alright, for the Germans, 11 infantry, 2 artilleries. Save the 1. Basically seeing how much income I can gain this turn. Which would get me, if I succeed on my trades, I would get 45 IPC, which is 15 infantry. I'm going to continue to stack France and small stack Italy to discourage a medshuck. And I'm going to stack Baltic and Karelia. The reason I'm stacking Baltic is to stop UK whittling down my infantry count. Because I don't have much infantry up forward anyway, because they're tanked by round 1. Alright, this will be the buy. So I'm going to take Egypt now, because the UK does not have a transport anymore. And he doesn't have any land units to trade Egypt with from the UK. Only Air Force, so if he wants to sack his Air Force to kill Egypt, they could do that, I guess. Basically talking about how the Americans could throw an infantry tank in its Air Force to kill Egypt as well. Basically praying for hitbacks if he does that, so I can get his Air Force. I'm going to commit 2 infantry to the Caucasus. I'm going to commit the bomber, infantry, artillery to Ukraine. I did pause here so I could think through the German moves. I'm actually going to commit the bomber, 2 infantry to the Caucasus so I can make sure I do take it. I can commit the fighters to Ukraine. And I'm going to stack most of my units into Karelia besides the 4 infantry I have to leave behind for West Russia, and then I'll leave 5 tanks so I can send to Baltic. I will apologise, this might be a heavily edited video because most of it's dead air and like just me waffling about what I'm basically simplifying right now. So I've done multiple calculations on where I'm stacking, and I'm basically saying, you know, if Russia gets 2 hitbacks here, I still have like a 90+% chance to hold against the Allies for Karelia. Basically said I'd rather not take 2 hitbacks, but I've accounted for the worst. Alright, good luck to the Germans here. Alright, a pretty good round for the Germans there. Right here I'm just setting up what I need to help stack France. I'm basically offering the Allies a 35% on France. Setting up Italy here. Allies have a 20% take. Setting up Baltic states here. I'm basically thinking, you know, there's a chance the UK takes back Caucasus, which means the US bomber in Africa can zone off Poland. So I need a couple defenders there to protect the bomber from the US bomber, right? Because it'd be worth it if the US sack their bomber to try and take out my German bomber. I'm talking about how the Allies could just use their bombers to chip away at Baltic if they wanted, instead of fully committing to it. And I've already set it up Karelia's defense. It shouldn't need no more. It shouldn't need any more defenders. So I can leave all 4 infantry to protect the Japanese fighters because they are very important. I'm basically saying if the UK goes for the Japanese Air Force, all they will have left is 1 bomber, which would not be a very good exchange. I'm basically saying if they go for that, then the Allies will only have roughly a combined of 5 fighters to help defend India if Japan decides to go for India. I'm basically saying Russia's going to, since I've stepped off West Russia, Russia will begin the Kazakh stack, or add to it. They've already begun, but they will add to it. Basically commenting that eventually I have to give up France so I can throw as many Germans towards Karelia as possible. And I'm basically saying as long as I keep my tanks in Baltic, they can never really stack France, or stack Karelia, or stack West Russia. I'm basically commenting right now that I've miscalculated slightly, nothing major, France, because I did think the US, I assume the US had two artillery. And I basically comment on how it gets confusing because the UI overlaps into Karelia from Finland sometimes. Yeah, 78% chance to hold France for the Germans here. It's roughly a 78% for Italy to hold. That should be the end of the Germans' moves. Two artilleries into Germany and then make sure there's free infantry going into Italy for the defense of Italy. I'm basically just double checking my calculations real quick. Right, 44, 45 IPC, so that's 15 more infantry for round 5 Germany. Unless the Allies bomb me, of course. Got a decent attack power lead at the moment. Basically saying I'm going to try and break through to Africa through Sudan there. I think that it's not called that, but that is where Sudan is. Yeah, it is Sudan. Yeah, Anglo-Egyptian Sudan. Yeah. But I'm basically saying that the Allies could just obliterate it with what they have available to them. So yes, an attack power lead, but Germany tends to really up the attack power for the Axis, so... Alright, that is the end of Germany round 4. And we'll be back for Germany round 5.